Hi, this is Rob Polenick of Brutal Iron Gym. Today's workout was a push day, so I focused on chest, shoulders, and triceps. I've been training currently in a push-pull legs format, and if I get a little overly fatigued in my joints, I'll take a day off. I am playing with this frequency because I was wanting to decrease the volume per muscle group that I had to do per workout, which would allow me then to increase the intensity per working set. But to make up for the reduction in volume, I will train more frequently. I decided to try this. I'm almost always changing and playing around with my training structure. And what I've found for myself is my body responds better to a higher frequency but lower volume, as opposed to having one day where I just annihilate my chest and then wait, 5 to 7 days to do that again. I find that my recovery in my muscles seems to be faster than that period of time, but my joint impact, my CNS stress on having to annihilate my body part enough to last a whole week seems to take a bigger hit. So the increase in frequency better matches my muscle recovery, and then it better matches the stress that I feel in my joints and nervous system. The nervous system, for example, how I would feel that is trouble with sleep and overall fatigue throughout the day, and even my mental acuity and focus on certain tasks throughout the day. If my CNS is overly stressed, my sleep goes to crap, I'm tired all day and I have a hard time kind of focusing on things. So that are a couple components I'll look at when I'm considering CNS impact. So today's workout, I started with chest flies, isolations. I did a seated version of a cable crossover today, so seated cable flies. I always start my chest workouts with some type of isolation for the chest, so that way when I go into my compound movement, my heavy presses, my chest is the most fatigued body part. So then in my presses, I'm reaching failure because my chest is maximized, not because I'm maximizing my triceps or my stability, my ability to balance and stabilize the weight I'm using. This does decrease the weight I'm using on my compound movements. However, that's not my goal, is to press the heaviest dumbbells possible. My goal is to grow the biggest chest I can, and the two are not directly related. If I can get maximal chest stimulus in regards to muscle stimulus out of 80-pound dumbbells rather than 120-pound dumbbells, I would rather do the 80s, save the stress in my joints, be able to train more frequently. I can press heavier weights if I move at a faster pattern or I don't pre-exhaust, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to grow a bigger chest. It might just mean my pressing strength goes up, maybe my triceps get bigger. It isn't directly related to chest growth. So I start with the chest isolation, almost always some type of chest fly, and I do prefer cable variations, especially on the rack we have here at home as a Sornex Apex rack. And between the cable columns, I can stand kind of like if it's here and here, instead of standing out in front of the cable columns, I can stand more between them. And what that does is it decreases the stretch tension in the most opened position, but it increases the tension as my hands would come closer together. The benefit of that is I'm going to get more stimulus on the inside strip of my chest, because that's whenever it's the most difficult. And I'm going to reduce injury risk on the outside, the upper bicep connector, and even kind of a possible pec tear or something on these extreme stretched positions. And then also when you're doing free weight chest presses, the most damaging, the most stressful position is in this opened position. So if I'm already going to be hitting that position maximally with my free weight compound movement, I don't need to also be doing that on my isolation movement. So I like doing the wider cable crossover variations and standing more between the cable stacks, because it gives me an opposing stimulus to the free weight movements. I did a lot of sets of the seated cable variation. It just felt really good. And you'll also notice in the variation, I let my shoulders kind of lift up a little bit, and I pulled my shoulders back, and then I was driving my hands together up and high like this, and that really hit across the top strip of my chest. It's a really good variation to get the upper portion of the chest. I did 3 high rep sets, 3 what I would consider lower rep sets, 10 to 14 reps. If I go any heavier than that, you seem to kind of incorporate too many other muscles like your front of your shoulder, or the quality kind of goes to crap and you're more so just throwing your hands together than actually contracting the chest. So that was really good. I then went into a 10-degree incline bench. I have a Rip Fitness Blackwing bench, and it goes by 10 and then 20, and then I think it goes up to like a 35 or 30. It just has weird increments. Most commercial gym benches will go by 15 degrees, but this does offer a 10 degree, which I really like. So I was doing that, and I was doing partial reps. I was doing 10 bottom range of motion, so just 10 partials. And then I would try to do 6 to 10 reps on the full range of motion. On the full range of motion, I'm coming to the top and trying to flex my chest. You'll notice I don't lock out my arms, and I keep the dumbbells outside the width of my shoulders, so that way the stress stays on my chest. Whereas if I let my hands come in front of my shoulders, then it's gonna load the joints, not my muscle tissue. So those are a couple little cues and things I think of. Doing the partials is just a good way to kind of, again, pre-exhaust the chest and spend more time in the chest-related part of the range of motion rather than spending the full range of motion, which essentially the top kind of 1/3 is mostly triceps. So I was emphasizing the more chest-dominant portion by doing the partials and then the full range of motion. I did 4 working sets there, and by then chest is done, felt really good, tons of pump, tons of stress. And again, this is the second time in the week I would be training my chest, or at least I train my chest twice a week. So I don't need to annihilate it past what feels like very good muscle fatigue. If I were to do another movement, it would feel as though I'm just more so doing it to do it, not that I actually needed to do it. So I finished then with a superset or a circuit. Superset is 2 movements back to back. A circuit is 2 or more. So sometimes I'll interchangeably use those words. But I did a circuit of dumbbell lateral raises with bounce reps and cable tricep press downs with a straight bar. The bounce reps on the lateral raises is just a fun technique to push the intensity. So once I reach failure with normal full range of motion reps, I come down and I let my upper arm actually touch against my lat. And from there, I'll kind of do a little bit of a body like English movement and let it bounce, and then come all the way to the top and try to resist the way down. I'll then bounce again all the way to the top and resist the way down. I really like that because it overloads the eccentric portion, which is when the working muscle is extending under weight load, and that's when we accrue the most amount of muscle damage related to muscle growth. So it's just a way to extra emphasize the eccentric portion. Typically the contraction portion, which will be when the working muscle is contracting, is shortening against weight load, so that's when it's like lifting the weight. That portion of the movement is weaker than the eccentric resistance, so our ability to resist stretching under weight load. So instead of just going to failure at a contracting strength, I wanted to add extra stimulus to fully exhaust the eccentric as well. So the bounce reps is a fun way to do that with lateral raises. For the tricep press downs, I use a straight bar. I'll most commonly use a neutral grip because I feel like it's a better blend of all 3 parts of the triceps, but today was a nice change of pace. So I did a straight bar, and I focused on having my elbows, what would feel like to me is my elbows not flared, but actually tucked in a little bit. And then think of bending like just at the elbow and kind of pushing my hands out and down in this sweeping motion. So I don't want to push like this where my upper arm moves. I was trying to keep my upper arm stable and then pivot through my elbow joint. That is a more isolative way to work the triceps than a pressing motion. Since I already did the dumbbell presses, I don't need another press for my tricep. So instead, I did the isolative variation, which is tucking the arms and keeping the upper arm nice and stable. Overall, this was a really good workout. I felt great. These are always dangerous days because I kind of want to do more because it feels good and you're excited, and it's what I love to do. But I do have to calm myself down and just call it a day. So that's what I did, and that's why I did it. If you give the workout a try, I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below, and that's it. Thank you for watching.